And to a positive story, and that is the Richmond Footy Club. They're only inside the 8, Lordy, on percentage, but it doesn't feel like that, does it, Cornsey? It feels like this footy club is building momentum. But now the intrigue starts around some of their senior players and where they're at for the rest of this year and into next year. Neil Baum spoke specifically about Jack Riewoldt and Trent Cotchin.
We'll see how we go. There's no certainties in any of those things. You've got to make changes to your list. So it means at times some blokes do have to go, but we haven't made those decisions yet. We're focusing on this year, 2022, rather than 2023 from that point of view.
Yeah, you could read into that, can't you, what Neil Baum has said, and not committing to those two champions of the club. So this is the changes that potentially they make, and is it the last roll of the dice for what has been a dynasty? When you look at Cotchin and Riewoldt, which you couldn't commit to, and whether you start having those conversations now. Lambert and his body may let him down. Edwards is in the same conversation as Cotchin and Riewoldt. Sam, I'll ask your thoughts on Dustin Martin in a moment. Rioli and Baker out of contract, and then Caro, the off-field leadership that...
Well, Peggy O'Neill is stepping down under the club's constitution. There's a ready-made replacement for her, but if Brendan Gale did get the AFL CEO's job, obviously he would go as well, which would be a huge shake-up at the Richmond Football Club if Brendan Gale was to leave, and I'm not saying that's in any way a certainty. Sam, did you say on 3AW tonight that it's a very good chance that Dustin Martin will leave Richmond?
Look, I got asked a direct question by Gerard Healy, and I answered honestly, and that is, you know, everything that I know now and the circumstances surrounding Dustin Martin and his career and his life, I think there's a really decent chance that he's somewhere else next year. I said that 6 weeks ago. I haven't backed away from it.
At Sydney?
I don't necessarily think it's certainly at Sydney. That they would make sense and they would move heaven and earth financially to get it done. But look, he's 31. He's given absolutely everything to that footy club. And I was of the opinion at the time, a couple of months ago, when Damien Hardwick was asked, and his answer was, if he was to leave, he would go with my blessing.
How do you think
that was him conditioning Richmond fans that it could happen.
How do you think they're feeling now? That was some weeks ago now, 3 or 4 weeks ago. How do you think the club is feeling? Are they confident that he will stay?
I think if you ask people at Richmond, they would say we back ourselves in, that he's got 2 years left on a deal. We think that we provide the right environment for him and that he'll stay. But if Dustin Martin was to get to the end of the year and say, look, I'm not, for a myriad of reasons that only he can speak to, I'm not enjoying my football in the same way that I was, and I think a change of environment would help me as a human being, there's no way Richmond are going to stand in their way. And when they've got deals like Liam Baker, who's only 24, who's out of contract and they need to pay him, taking $1.3 million a year out of your TPPs, it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, I think Richmond have a history in the last 5 or 6 years of handling I
agree with you, by the way. We had this debate last week on the show, Caro. You disagree. What I will say about his form yesterday, it was as sharp as I've seen him in the first half as I've seen him all year. 17 first half disposals, but it was back to what we know. I mean, some of his ball use and his decision making and the penetration in his leg, like that decision, that looks easy, but not many players in the game can do that. So it was as engaged as I've seen him, Lordo, which was ominous until he did his hammy, which the club has confirmed a minor hamstring today, which means that he will miss. And I'm a little bit concerned about this. This is what I challenged you on, Caro, round one, I think, when you said they could win the flag. I said it all comes down to this. And there is a build-up and a history of players doing multiple soft tissue injuries, and it's building up on them right now when you lose Martin. So I don't know why.
The rest of them are all over their injuries.
Yeah, but they will probably bob up again because we know the biggest risk.
I say what I said in round one. I think Richmond are capable of one last roll of the dice.
Are you worried about their injury list?
No. I think it's been pretty positive after. I mean, when Prestia went down in the first round, I was very worried. But no, I think there's. Look, when they play at their best, you'd think they could actually challenge for the premiership this year, which I felt in round one, and nothing has changed. It's just going to be very tough from the bottom half of the
They've become a remarkable footy club to still be contending where they are right now, and us talking about them as a chance.